Okay, year 8, so we're moving on to colour. You should have now a full pack of information ready for your comic, ranging from your mood board that you did right at the beginning. So this is where we're going to take information and inspiration for our colour work. So when we look at comics, there's lots of blocks of colour. They're quite flat, really, which works really nicely for what we're going to be doing. You could just go really simple and just have flat colour backgrounds with your information and your text on the top. You could go a little bit inspired by pop art and put patterns and things like that in the background. Close-ups on the faces were actually created out of lots of dots because that was the printing technique that was used. It'd be a bit hard to do on the scale that we're doing, but it's possibly something you could remember. If you're going for slightly more modern comics, there's a little bit more detail than the older ones. So these ones are probably from about the 1960s, whereas these, I would imagine, are probably the 1990s, 2000. So you can see there's a little bit more detail. The comics that you've looked at could be ICT based, so they could have been done on a computer. You might want to look at doing things on a computer, but I'm going to show you today different ways that you can apply colour to your comic at home. So you should have two versions. You should have your basic plan, and then last week we did a neater version, okay? We're not working on the neat version to start off with. We're going to try things out on our practice, because what I want to talk to you today is what sort of colour that you're going to use and how you're going to use it. Now, obviously, this depends on what you actually have access to at home, okay? But if anybody's nipping to the supermarket or anything like that, I do know there are stationery aisles, so you can get hold of colour pencils, felt pens. Sometimes you can even get hold of little paint palettes. So there might be loads of different things that you could use. So if we're going really back to basics, coloured pencils is probably one of the easiest media to start working with. So you want to start deciding on colours and things like that. So when you're working with your coloured pencils, what you want to do is you want to try and get this colour as flat as you can get it. So we're not colouring in like that and just scribbling. We want to get a really nice, vibrant colour. Okay, so you can see I'm sort of trying to blend in all those lines so that you can't actually see where the pencil starts and where it finishes. I'm trying to get it as smooth as possible. Don't hold your pencil right upright and use the point. Move your hands down a little bit and sort of use the side of your pencil. Okay, and if you do it in different directions, you're going to end up with a really, really nice flat colour. Okay, so that's one media that you can use. Can you see how bright and intense that is? So looking at my mood board, I was going for these real pop arty ones. So I want it to be really, really bright and colourful. You might decide that you want to use felt pens. I would not recommend Sharpies because they just go straight through the paper. If you did end up using a Sharpie, which might be later for outlining, make sure you put something underneath the piece of paper to protect the table. The worst thing that you could do is do all your at-home work and then discover that you've just drawn over your kitchen table, which would not be ideal. Working with felt pen, it's a little bit like pencil. You want to try and get it as neat as possible. So what you don't want to do is colour in lots and lots of different directions, because felt pen, you can see all the lines. What you want to do is get that the pen going in the same direction. Okay, and by doing that, you're going to then create that nice flat colour that we want. Don't know if you can still see under there, that's all scribbly, whereas if we go really nice, just lines going in the same direction, you might just need it in the other just to give you an edge. But then I would work back in from that edge, so I get it really nice and neat. I might draw an edge just round the hair so that I know where I'm going to. And you can then just start filling that in, and you're trying to get that colour as flat as possible. Okay, so can you see? We've ended up now with a really nice, you can sort of see the lines, but because everything's going in the same direction, it ends up being a little bit neater than scribbling. Go over it a couple more times. You can see the colour becomes a little bit more intense. But again, don't work on it too much because your pen has got an ink in it. You can end up creating holes in your pieces of paper. Okay, some of the pens, one of the things that you could try, as you know, when we use these Beryl's at school, they are water soluble. So you could end up, so if I was going to go with the hair, put some of it on and then just get a brush, just a little bit of water, and it turns that felt pen into an ink. Not all felt pens are water soluble, so I would suggest that you try that. But that could be really nice just to give you a bit of colour, just in a very, very different way. So you can use your felt pens in 2 different ways. If you have got access to a little paint palette, you could play around with that as well. So again, just think about your colours that you're using. So mine have got really brightly coloured backgrounds. So I've got this bit here with my phone. So I might decide I'm going to go for a different coloured background. And again, comics have this really flat colour. So we want to get that as flat as we can get it and as smooth. You might have some paints that are in bottles, like ready mixers. Use them with water if you have got the ready mixers. There are some shops that are still open where you can get stuff. So Boys in Brighouse have got a stationery section, and upstairs you can actually get bottles of paint if you wanted to go and get some specific colours. Most of the supermarkets have got a stationery section, so hopefully you will be able to get access to something to enable you to actually do your work. So you could work in paint. Now, the other bit that I've got, you might have noticed my box of chocolates here on the side. I discovered while having a look on the computer that actually you can make your own ink out of the wrappers from Quality Streets. So I had to go and buy some chocolates, which was really, really hard. So when you get the wrappers, you don't want the foil, you want the little bit of cellophane. And what I did this morning is I popped some water in a little pot, and I have added a couple of cellophane wrappers to them. And what it does is the colour actually comes out of the cellophane. So you've got your red, blue, probably needs some more, might have to leave them a little bit longer or possibly not put as much water in. The pink's not very good. You've got a bit of an orange, a bit of a turquoise, and a bit of a green. They're really delicate. This is the first time that I've tried this. If I was going to do it again, I would have less water, or I need to put some more wrappers in. But it's just another way that you could have a play around with a little bit of colour, and it's also an excuse to go and eat some chocolates. Okay, so once you've done all that and you've had a practice and you've decided what particular media you want to work with, then you can come onto your actual final piece, your actual design. You can do a mixture of media as well if you want. So I think probably what I'll end up doing with this one is I might end up with coloured pencil, and then I might use some felt pen and some pen over the top. I'm going to leave the text to start off with. I'm going to work with the background. So what you don't want to do is start doing all the detail. I'll do all my backgrounds first, and then I will start working on the detail. So that's mainly it for the video. What I'll also include with the lesson is, as I've done this, I'll take some photographs and I'll add some photos into the classroom just so that you can have a look and see my piece of work developing. Obviously, this isn't going to be done in one lesson, so we are working over the holidays on this as well. We really look forward to seeing your your comics. Seeing what story you've chosen and how you're going to develop your piece of work. If you have any questions, make sure you join any of the live sessions that your teachers are doing, or drop them an email. Okay, so have fun and enjoy creating your comic.